Okay, let's talk about tiled. And if you don't know what tiled is, well, you should. If you're going to be using this this kit, you don't absolutely have to use tiled, but it sure makes laying out levels a lot easier. And this is where you can go download it at mapeditor.org. You can see, hey, look at that. We are an official sponsor now of tiled, proudly sponsoring them. And go ahead and get that downloaded. It is a free program, and that way we can continue talking about this. All right, so over here in the property list file for the kit, you have in the game settings option this value right down here. It says always position levels using TMX or tiled. TMX is the file type that tiled produces. It's essentially just an XML file, and by setting this to yes, we are basically telling the kit that any object that we set up, you're going to go and you're going to look at the tiled file first and see if that object exists in the tiled file, and if so, then it's okay to go ahead and position it using that data. If we had this set to no, then objects are not going to look inside of the tiled file, and by default they're not going to look inside the tiled file, and they'll just kind of set themselves up with the location values you put in here. Okay, and even if you set this to yes or no, you've also got a separate option inside of an object that you can toggle on or off to kind of force it to have the TMX location or not. All right, so. And then another thing we should talk about real quick is you can always go over here to debug all bodies, and you can set this to yes if you just want to see what the outline is of those objects. But anyway, let's go and set that back to no for right now. And really briefly, if you ever want to fold up every option, every property or dictionary in your file here, go over here to option and then hit the left arrow on the keyboard. And don't think you can hit the right arrow after that, because if you do, that'll unfold everything. Hit the left arrow and then just unfold it like that, and everything will be nice and pretty again. All right, so let's go into one of our levels, and let's go to level 1. We're gonna come down here, and there it is, TMX file. All right, so that is gonna point us to, it says level 1, our level 1 .tmx file, and of course it doesn't look as pretty as it does in tiled when you look at just the XML data, but yeah, that's essentially, this is it. This is all the positions for everything, and what the kit does is it just kind of parses through all this and figures out where everything should go. But you don't really have to look at that. Just wanted to point out where the TMX files are, and this can be any name. Okay, don't think it has to be level 1. You know, so if you want to just put in here a name like Dark Caverns, if that helps you remember what level it is, do that instead. And another thing to point out, at no point in anywhere in this property list are we putting in a file extension for anything. All right, that goes for sound, that goes for texture atlases, whatever it is. Never put in the file extension. And yeah, so let's go ahead and open up this in tiled. What I'm going to do is just show it in the Finder so I can go find it real fast. Here it is. Okay, and let's turn off the grid. Just take that off right there, and now we get that into our viewable area. Here we go. Here is our level for level 1. Okay, so really fast, let me just make a simple change here to the file and just show you guys that is going to show up instantly in your project. So I'm just going to move that platform down. Got to be sure that you save the file, but after you do that, that's pretty much it. That's all you got to do. And we'll hit build on this. And I'm going to do something that I'll suggest that you don't do, which is run this kit with the simulator. Always try to test on your device because it's so much faster. And you can see, you know, the character doesn't like jump as high when the physics aren't running as quick as they should. And but there it is. So here's our guy running around, and let's see if you can at least make that jump right there. Oh, but the physics are so slow, he's just going to go back down. All right, so, but that proves my point, is you can do things, you can set up your level that quickly and make changes that quickly to it. So let's just undo that, and you know, obviously you've got these 2 starting levels right here to use, but what if you want to make your own level from scratch? Well, let's talk about that. So let's go over here to new, and you get some options right away here. Orthogonal, that's what we'll go with for the orientation. And for the tiles, we're going to do something you might not expect here. We're going to set the width and the height down to 1 and 1. All right. And then we got to kind of estimate the size of our scene, and you know, maybe like 4,000 by 2,000. So let's say that this is this could be kind of a good size for a typical side scroller that you know, you've got more on the width than you do on the height, but you can actually resize this at any time, so it doesn't really matter too much. If you do have to resize it though, you might have to reposition objects, so it's a good idea to kind of get a you know, a rough estimate in here basically. And now when I click OK on this, we're going to do one thing right away, and I don't want you to forget about this. Go over here and get rid of this tile layer. All right, and the reason you're going to do that is because, well, you're not using the tile layer ever anyway. We're only using object layers in here, but because I put in there 4,000 and by 2,000, it makes the TMX file incredibly huge if you leave that tile layer in there, because it's basically got an XML tag for every one of those potential tiles, and the file would end up being something like 300 megabytes, but it's not that big if you delete the layer in there. And let's go ahead and just save this out, and I'm going to put this in here with well, I guess I need to go find the location of the project. Let me go do that. Okay, so here it is, and if you bought the kit, obviously you recognize that you've got your Quest folder here, which has the Xcode project, and then another folder that just says for tiled, and that's just for the art purposes. It's not for the TMX file that we're saving now. So let's go ahead and dive into here a little bit further, go in one more time, and probably you'll see you know, one of the other levels over here. So let's just call this one whatever we want, Dark Cavern. Okay. .tmx, save it on in there, and now let's go and locate that on my hard drive. And here it is. So we're going to dive in one more time. There it is, darkcavern.tmx, and you will see that this is only 141 bytes. It's a super small file compared to what it would have been if we hadn't deleted that tile layer. And now all we have to do is go and dump this into, it can be in any folder, doesn't matter. And I'm going to go and toggle that on, and this one as well, but it really shouldn't matter, okay, if you had this toggled off, because where we save that file was already inside of the project folder. But you know, I think it's just a good idea to do that anyway. So here we go, finish, and now if we want to start our level at or start the game, or level 1 here at with that file, we'll just change this to Dark Cavern. Alright, so let's switch back to tiled, and we are going to go and create a new object layer. Add object layer, and this layer name can be anything we want, just for reference. We'll just call it, how about starting stuff. Alright, going to give it a dumb name so it's not confused with things that we want to actually identify back in the kit. Alright, so one of the first things we'll do is define a starting point, and I'm just going to insert in here, alright, a rectangle, and you're going to really just be playing with the tools that are over here, nothing over here, and these are just kind of some you know, tools like saving and things like that. So really you can just kind of exclusively focus your mind over on these guys, and I guess we'll just put our starting point right here. And if you go over now, let's see, let's go over here to objects, let's unfold this. That is what we just created, and I'm going to switch to the select objects tool, because if I just kept using that one, it would just be creating more and more things. And you know, obviously when I clicked on this, you can see that it is highlighted over here, and the same thing sort of applies. So if I deselect that and I just click on this, it will highlight that over there, and that's sometimes a nice way to just identify what you're messing around with. And now what we're going to do is identify this for the property list essentially. All right, and what I'm going to do is just type into here portals, okay, because this is going to be one of our portals, and that name matches our dictionary over here in our levels dictionary, and you can think of dictionaries as just groups essentially. So within here we've got all of our stuff related to level 1, and we've got our portals, and if you unfold this, you've got the actual name of the or key name of the dictionary that defines all the data for the portal. Okay, and there's really not that much of it. The depth of it, which I could delete anyway because it's just coming in at 0. That's the default. Make one way is setting this to yes. Essentially, just makes it so that the portal just doesn't worry about any other data other than it being a portal, essentially, that goes one way. All right, it's kind of like a drop point in the board. Other portals can have gateways to other levels and things like that, and instead of having to define all that stuff or not defining it, if you just put in here make one way equals yes, again, it's essentially just a drop point. And if you put in any values for your appear from portal where, all right, that's just an offset from the portal's location of where the character is going to appear. So if I put in here, let's say 100, right? Oops. If I put in there 100, that's 100 on the X, so it's a positive amount, and that means that if I switch back over here to tiled to show you this, where'd it go? The character would appear somewhere over here, like 100 pixels over this way. And if it was 100 pixels on the y-axis, it would be up, all right? And negative values would be either to the left or down like that. And let's just go ahead and leave that at 0 for right now. What we want is just this part of it, right? All right, this is the key name for it. So we've kind of got our broader object type, all right, which is portals, and then we want the key name. So go back over here to tiled and drop in here, starting point, and you'll see it actually says starting point over here. Isn't that nice? If you ever need to change this, you can by just clicking inside of here, or you can just double click on the object itself, and you can put in here the name and the type, and that's it. That's all you got to do. Okay. At its most basic, that's it, and you can just move this around, and the character will come in at that particular location. And you know, we can go ahead and test this out. So I did switch this over here to Dark Cavern, and if I go ahead and publish it, all right, so we're gonna hit start fresh, and there he goes. He's just falling down to nothingness. So let's give him something to land on. One of the easiest things you can do, just so he's not falling down right away, is again just go back to your insert rectangle tool, and let's go and just draw in. You know, actually we'll draw it around him, a boundary. And all you have to do is go over here and just write boundaries, and hit save. That's really it. Yeah, unbelievable. I know, it's that simple. Let's go over to Xcode one more time, and we'll just make sure that the boundary is actually coming in, and you don't have to match up anything in the property list for the boundaries, okay? Because it's such simple data. It basically the kit's only needs the location and the size of that boundary, and sure enough, he has now you know, fallen in. He's on top of something. He's not just falling like crazy. And you, if you're ever kind of confused as to, well, where are those boundaries? Again, you can go over here to your game setting, or debug settings, I should say. And now it's appropriate that we actually switch that on. So we'll change that to yes. And now you get these kind of creepy red dots everywhere, but that's okay. Well, and sure enough, there he is. So look at that. And you're seeing, of course, the body around him. And some of you might be wondering, well, wait a minute, you know, our tiled file didn't actually choose a character to come into the screen. We didn't put any character data in there, and that's that's a good observation because there will never be any character data in here. The characters are defined in the property list, and they always travel through portals. Okay, so so the point being is that you don't ever have to put them inside of the level itself. You do need to put in a portal for the character to appear, but anything to do with defining the look of the character, things like that, that's all taken care of in the property list. And actually the same thing is true for really any object. Tiled is for the most part just being used for the location of things, all right, and not the appearance of things. And in terms of other easy things, let's just go ahead and get this out of the way really fast. Let's create a polygon. So we're just gonna I'm sorry. Let's grab a it's not the polygon one. It's the insert polyline tool, and I'm just gonna draw in here a kind of oddly shaped boundary. All right. And just to kind of prove that you can do this. Let's make it really oddly shaped. Do some things like that. And when you're done making your lines, go ahead and just right-click on it. All right. And now all we need to do is type in here lines. Hit save. Go back over here to Xcode, and let's see what that looks like. And what's to me sort of exciting about those lines is that they're is it the word concave? They're non-concave shapes. Basically it's just a crazy shape. You've got lines intersecting other lines, and that's okay. You can officially get away with that now. If you remember from the Box 2D days, you couldn't do crazy things like that, and you couldn't do more than 8 points, and they had to be counterclockwise of all things. So anyway, yeah, you can make some silly boundaries like this, and the kit does not care. It will not break on you. And you know why that is? It's because those bullets, they didn't hit something there. If you heard that in the background, they're just set to explode after a while. The reason that you can get away with this is because it's just creating one line at a time. All right, so it's just looking at this point, then it's going to go and put that endpoint in there, and so on like that. So it's not actually creating one kind of giant shape out of this. It's just one line at a time. All right. Okay, so now let's go ahead and mock up our level with some images. So I'm going to go into the demo folder here, and you can see we've got a folder called For Tiled, and I'm going to now take this moving platform image, and this is just the standard definition one. We're not going to put in the HD one. Okay, we're just not going to do it. And we will, first, before we drop this into tiled, take note of the standard definition size. So I'm going to open up preview and just go over here to adjust size, just so I can see the size. So it's 114 by 31. So 114 by 31. Let's see if I can remember that long enough. All right, so here we go. I'm just going to drop it into this general area. What was those numbers again? One, and if you see, you'll probably see this happen too, because this has happened to me now on a couple computers, so I'm just assuming it happens to everybody. I can't type in here for a moment, but in a second you'll see like some sort of, there it is. You see what happened there? Kind of like moved back, but now after that you're free to type things in. That doesn't happen every time, but it happens occasionally. All right, so 114 by 31, and now you've got that object in here. Select it. All right, so you see that it's been selected here. It's indicated by that blue. And now I'm going to go over here to the Insert Tile tool, and even though it says Insert Tile, think of it like inserting in an object. Okay, so oh, it looks like I switched over to the mini map somehow. Let's put that back over there. A convenient thing to use it, but I didn't mean to do that. All right, and set this back to 100%. All right, insert tile. Let's do it. Pop it right there, and go over to select objects. Okay. If I to save this right now and publish it in Xcode, you're not going to see anything. Okay, this object doesn't exist. Okay, if it doesn't have a type and it doesn't have a name, it does not exist. Or I should say, if it doesn't have a type, it doesn't exist, because there are certain things like these boundaries and the lines here that don't need a name. But for most of our things, it's going to need a type. So we're going to go over here and put in objects. All right, and that relates to the objects dictionary inside of the property list. And then I'm going to give it one of these names inside of here. Well, let's just call it a still platform. Or I should say, let's just use the still platform key name. So that means the object is going to go and it's going to use this image name right here, not the one that's in tiled. All right, and then here's all of our little properties and things like that for it. Okay, so even though you're seeing something here in tiled, that does not necessarily mean that's the thing that you're going to be using in your game. It's just mock-up art. Okay. And now let's go ahead and test that out. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. Just write still platform, and that's it. You know, you position it wherever you want to position it. Maybe make our character drop onto it like so. And let's save it out. Come back over here to Xcode, run it again, and we'll see if it showed up for us. And while the simulator is kind of taking its sweet time, I should note that once you've put your artwork inside of there, you're not going to want to go and delete it. All right, or I should say, you're not going to want to move it around. Okay, because the actual tiled file it needs to know where that artwork is. Essentially, it's not saving the artwork inside of you know, the program itself anywhere. It's just got this little reference point to where that image is located on your computer. So don't move this file around after you've imported that in, or if you do, you're going to just get a warning that the image was removed. So kind of just set a good location for all of your mock-up files and then leave them there, because in, you know, a couple months or something like that, you don't want to you know, have deleted all of your images that were making up the level mock-up wise. So anyway, let's go over here to Start Fresh, and there we go. So now he's on his platform, and that's it. Let's look at another special case here. Let's try putting in the Insert Ellipse tool, and I'll just kind of drag that out like so, and move that over this way. We can go ahead and delete out things that we're not going to use here. So let's get rid of the lines. All right. The circle we'll use as a circular boundary. So I'm going to go ahead and type in here again, boundaries for the type name. And by default, if you don't do anything else from here, this is just going to come in as a square boundary. All right, it doesn't code-wise, the kit doesn't know yet that this is a circular one. And to do that, you'll need to specify it by going over here to Object Properties, and let's make this a little bit bigger if I can. I'm going to type in here collision body type, and then just right here circle, click OK, and that's it. Now the kit should know when the data is fed in there. This again, every time I publish, I end up quitting the simulator instead of just stopping it, and then it takes forever to load back up again. Okay, so go back over here, and sure enough, you've got now this circular body here. I don't know why it makes these little circles around the bigger circle. I'm not sure what the thinking there is, but there it is. It's this nice little, look at this. Let's see if we can get some kind of inertia going here to, I guess not. Anyway, it's a fun little thing you can play with. And here, now I'll actually go and stop it. All right. Back over here to tiled. Actually, you know what? Before we switch back over to tiled, let's look at the tiles dictionary. because that's going to be the next thing that we put in here. And you can see I've got one called a dark tile in here, and this just has an image name property, so of course that goes to the the image assets inside of here, wherever that is. And then we've got our tile size, and that can be the exact size of whatever image you're using here, or it can be a different size. It can be anything you want. You could stretch it out within here. Of course, we're using our kind of bracket format here. The same format you use for locations, you can use for sizes as well. So 64 is the width, and this other 64 is the height. And as for the other properties in here, we're choosing a depth of -100, and I put an alpha value in there because I thought that looked better. So it's half transparent. It's just transparent to a black background though, so it's essentially this was a way to just darken the tile even more. And that's it for those properties. What we're going to use tiled for now is setting the overall coverage size of this, or the basically the entire width and height of the tiling, okay. And then of course tile is used for the location of that, where all the tiles are going to be at. So switch back over here. This time we are using the insert rectangle tool, and oops, let's just draw that like so. Come in here and write tiles. Reference the name. Does everybody remember it? It was dark tile. And now we'll go back over here to Xcode. Publish it one more time, and I think we will see a dark tile in the background. Sure enough, there it is, and kind of starting to resemble an old school platformer game, isn't it? Okay, that is that's pretty much all I got to say about tiled. Other than, well, I hope you enjoy laying out your levels graphically like this. And don't forget too that we only talked about portals and objects, but you can also put in there collectibles as well, and everything's just treated the same, whether or not it's an object, portal, or collectible. You put in the type, and then you put in here the reference name for that. And again, your exceptions to those rules are boundaries don't need the name property, and neither lines or edges. And I should note too that you can get away with writing in here lines or edges. There's 2 if statements in the kit that check for lines or edges. It's the same thing, but because I kept forgetting when I was developing whether or not I was calling these lines or edges, and I eventually just said, you know what, we'll just use 2 if statements here, or 2 conditions in 1 if statement. That'll check for both of those. So anyway, I'm not going to leave this this dark cavern file in with the kit itself. I'm just going to go ahead and delete it after this video. So don't go looking for it, in other words. All right, thank you.